Always love when I get a replay submission from two channel regulars. Today we've got Rider of Rohan branching out into the realms of man, facing off against Pigman, who is going to take the Tomb Kings here. So let's take a look at the build right away as those Screaming Skulls start to tee off on some Free Company Militia. We've got them mixing with some Spearmen, looks like about 5 Huntsmen. Very interesting choice. Lack of AP means they're not going to be incredible against constructs, but they'll be good, certainly decent, must be said. We've got some Empire Knights as well in the back line. Spearman protecting Karl Franz on a Griffin, or sorry, on a Pegasus. Very interesting choice. Will be more appropriately sized. Honestly, considering the Griffin doesn't give you a huge amount of upside, sometimes the Pegasus can be a good option as well, just to give that extra speed. Yeah, a little bit less weapon strength, but still 90 charge overall, and ability to get these buffs out. Lore of Life, of course, to heal him up. And on the opposite side, we saw those Screaming Skulls. Looks like some Ushabti Greatbows, Regiment of Renown as well. Ark in the Black leading the way. Some Skeleton Spears and Ushabti as a front line. Eyes of the Desert. Yeah, looking pretty good. Those Screaming Skulls are definitely going to do a number on the Free Company as they advance. Of course, Free Company being relatively cheap is just fine for them to take this fire. In fact, for the Empire here, there's no high-value infantry at all. Even mid-value infantry, not really. I mean, it's all, you know, fairly low-value stuff, so it's fine for them to take that fire, just absorb the damage on the approach. Speaking of absorbing damage, Karl also gets a little Spirit Leech here. Does a risky dive for sure, especially with the Eyes of the Desert, able to potentially tee off, but it looks like instead Arkan's going to summon some Skeletons, which will kind of prevent the Eyes of the Desert from getting good line of sight here. Actually, I don't know. I probably would have just let it be. Tried to get them shooting rather than try and summon in to trap Karl, but I understand where he's going with that. He's just trying to keep him on the ground here, but that Spirit Leech plus Arkan's own attacks are definitely doing a number. Karl decides to turn around as he gets regrowth there, also gets Arkan kind of soloed out as the Ushabti push forward to try and countercharge the Empire infantry. I don't know. Arguably should have left one there, just counter collapse back, get on Karl. But the Empire Knights, Empire State troops charging in the front line. The Ushabti are going to trade very well here, other than into the Spearmen, and of course really nice focus fire from the Huntsman as well to just gat down one unit. Lack of AP doesn't matter too much there, and we've got this high of a volume of fire of just good damage, right? Not necessarily high AP, but just overall great damage. You see the +8 bonus versus large. It is pretty significant of a weapon strength increase, or missile strength increase rather. Yeah, Empire Knight's kind of working up and around the flanks here, getting pushed back, not really being wildly effective, but still kind of pulling some resources and distracting out the side a little bit. But Free Company having to be tossed forward as the catapults, the Ushabti Greatbows start to work down the Huntsmen, which is definitely the targets they want to be going after here, sort of from a threat assessment perspective. The Huntsmen are by far the most dangerous component of the troops here. I mean, obviously Karl's quite dangerous in himself, but as far as the actual build for Tomb Kings goes, the Huntsmen are one of the most dangerous components, and they've already done a lot of work as we kind of zoom in and out on Karl fighting Arkan there. You see a lot of the Ushabti are already done. We've only really got the one unit over on this far side still alive, so just that sheer focus of volume has been very, very consistently good so far, but let's see. That is one thing about Huntsmen, like, yes, even though, yeah, not the best AP values in the world, they can still get it done against high armor targets and enough volume. That loose formation gives them a pretty big advantage over other Empire skirmish units, given that they're not going to take as much damage from artillery like these Screaming Skull catapults and whatnot. So, yeah, looking good there. Arkan gets a little bit caught up on these Empire Knights, a little charge up and around. Karl's going to try and get in on him, but that Spirit Leech been doing a good job of keeping Karl kind of managed to a degree. Little Ushabti summoned in the back line as well, and I don't know, the Tomb Kings are looking like they're in a really good position right now. Definitely resurgent to a degree with that Ushabti summon, and the fact that Karl's just struggling to combat Arkan effectively. Likewise, Empire Knights definitely could maybe stand a peel 1 or 2 and try and get up and around. I mean, there are still these skeleton spears protecting the Screaming Skulls, but right now they are definitely feasting on value, it must be said. And Huntsmen, although they did a good job taking out most of the Ushabti, now have not been able to get in range to try and shoot the artillery crews. That would have been a good way of dealing with them. But yeah, 104 kills, 900 value there, 120, almost a 900 value there. Now, the regrowth on Carl should help stabilize things somewhat, and if Carl can still yet snipe Arcan, that would be absolutely huge. Obviously, cause major leadership issues for the Tomb Kings, but let's see what's happening. Huntsman trying to regroup here. We've got more Huntsmen moving in on the side, perhaps trying to finish off those Ushabtis. Screaming Skulls going after the Free Company for the time being, but yeah, surprisingly little resources being allocated to support Arcan, but at the same time, Carl's actually struggling dealing with him. I don't know what's going on here exactly, if he's just having a hard time getting effective animations off, but oh man, the Eyes of the Desert almost got Carl there as he manages to barely dodge out of the way, and he's going to have to just hang back for the time being as to not get sniped by Arcan Spirit Leech, but things are looking very grim for the Empire. Besides these handful of Huntsmen that are still alive, there's not much left, and these Eyes of the Desert still looking quite healthy. Arcan the Black still looking quite healthy. Chosen the Gods are running low on ammo, as are Screaming Skull Catapults, but they've still got enough to perhaps be effective here. But one thing going for Rider Rohan, this little concave of Huntsman coming back, gets some nice damage in on the Eyes of the Desert. He pulls some resources to try and kind of block these Skeletons' advance. Empire Knights coming back in, looking for some avenues to come in and interrupt, disrupt, and absorb some of the fire so that the Huntsman can continue working, but it's not looking great right now. One skeleton over here kind of gets soloed out and is going to get taken down. The woods will also somewhat protect, but another Spirit Leech on Carl is about to finish him off. He's down below 1,000 HP now. Really not looking great. Perhaps one more heal from the Life Mage here would put him up to his heal cap, which is still not going to be a lot, but one more charge in here to these spears. Regiment Renowned Ushabti are going to charge in as well now into melee, being out of ammo, but that's fine. Lots of spears to move in to support Carl. A little Earthblood on him as well to heal up that blob. And the Huntsmen, these three still operational. We've got, what, 60, 40, 35, so, you know, a little over 100. A little over a full unit, right? Like a unit and a half, basically, of Huntsmen still shooting. So that's certainly enough to get some nice damage there on the Eyes of the Desert. Those Screaming Skulls are just about out of ammunition, about 3 volleys left apiece. Still is enough to maybe finish off one and maybe the second unit of Huntsmen here, but we'll definitely just have to see how this plays out. Certainly very close. Balance power despite being in the Tomb King's favor. Really nice Reichland Runefang there to support that extra melee attack. Just helps to work down those Chosen of the Gods even quicker. Carl trying to move away, stay out of Spirit Leech range of Arcan. He's got to be pretty close to out of magic, though, I would imagine. I mean, granted, every time he does cast a spell, he's going to get a little bit of extra reserve, especially when you combine that with the Staff of Nagash. You can get some extra Winds of Magic here. But, oof, yeah, a lot of these Empire units are teetering on the edge of leadership. Screaming Skulls are just about out of ammunition, though. Oh, man, it's going to be so close, guys. Carl also routes momentarily and then comes back. Ooh, Undead Leadership here is holding together. Nope, that unit's gone now. Fortunately, the Empire... Ooh, are they going to hit army losses here? It looks like the majority of the units are routing. It's so close right now, guys. These one Huntsmen just barely holding their leadership together, but the Screaming Skulls are out of ammunition. Very critical. The problem is, Arcan himself, I think, at this point, can probably just tank it out. Like, I really don't think that anything can kill Arcan. Although the Jade Wizard's certainly giving it his best shot, just kind of fighting it out here in melee. The Jade Wizard, honestly, is the only thing at this point keeping the Empire from just chain routing. But we'll see. It looks like as maybe Tomb Kings get pulled out of position here. Rider Rohan's going to do his best. Those Huntsmen, though, I mean, they're not immune to fear. All these skeleton units, even the artillery crew causes fear. Yeah, Spirit Leech actually kills Carl there, so I would imagine that's probably going to trigger army losses. We'll see. Arcan comes in, hunts that Jade Wizard. And that's got to be all she wrote. Yeah. Super, super close at the end of the day, but not quite enough to win here. Yeah, oof, that skeleton summon's got to do it. I can't imagine that Jade Wizard will hold his leadership, and none of the rest of these units are going to be coming back, I don't think. So we'll just fast forward through the end. A little bit of Spirit Leech there, and yeah, inevitably the Tomb Kings do win it, although it was insanely close, it must be said. Ultimately, I mean, Carl, as much as I respect the pick, I think it's decent. It's just not cost effective, unfortunately. Until Carl's Griffin gets an HP buff, he's really not going to be, like, meta by any means. And will kind of fall behind the power curve in compared to a lot of, in comparison to a lot of other lords, especially for a faction leader. It's pretty sad, honestly, how far behind the power curve he is, but can be effective. I don't know. It's a few things here also, like Free Company are fine, I guess, in this matchup. They don't do a lot for you. Like, there's not really a lot of great high-value targets. Maybe Nehekara Warriors with their lack of miss a block chance would be a great target for them, but I don't know. I feel like you could probably get something a little bit more efficient by swapping these guys out for something else. Hard to say what, really. Obviously, hindsight 2020, against this build, maybe a little bit of missile cavalry like Pistoliers, just to kind of harass and maybe pull some units out of position. You know, if you could possibly pull some of those spears away, hit those Screaming Skulls in melee, perhaps, shut them down a little bit earlier. But the Screaming Skulls are definitely MVPs for the Tomb Kings, over 1,000 value each. 11,000, 13,000 damage dealt, respectively. Very good stuff. Shabti did less well, as I would expect in this matchup, against Empire's armor-piercing missiles, but yeah, and in comparison, Tomb King's own shooting units were able to contest quite effectively against the Empire's shooting here. And maybe the lack of a long-range option, too. Maybe you could, like, swap a couple of these Free Company out for just a cannon. Keep this a little more honest. I mean, you probably still end up losing in the long run, but could pick away a few models off of the Screaming Skulls or, you know, these higher value monstrous infantry ranged units. Yeah, there's definitely some options you can go with there, but Empire side, of course, the Huntsmen, yeah, definitely do a decent job. Some of them don't pay for themselves, but in enough volume. They definitely can, and they don't all need to. But the rest of the build, I mean, Spearmen do an okay job getting buffed by Carl. One thing also in this matchup to consider, and, you know, these days I see a lot of people not filling up their hero slots, which is fine. But especially for a faction like the Empire, where you have a lot of really cheap, cost-effective heroes that you can kind of kit down. This guy in particular is a good one against Tomb King, simply for the Banner of Eternal Flame. Anytime you basically just stick this guy to the enemy lord, you know, you can put him on a horse if you need to. He's not the best combatant in the world, and he definitely will get killed if he gets singled out 1v1 against even like Arcan, most likely. But the Banner of Eternal Flame means that as long as he has support troops helping him fight Tomb King's lords, he'll do that extra little bit of damage. Of course, if you have the extra gold, you can always come in here and pick up some of these other like melee attack buff. One is pretty decent. Soulfire Bombardment can be nice for clearing out chaff. It's definitely a lord, or a hero rather, where this is one matchup where he can do okay. Even just, again, Banner of Eternal Flame. You could even take him on foot if you want to be more infantry support, a little bit cheaper. So for 550, you can get the melee attack buff, Banner of Eternal Flame, maybe add the Soulfire in for 700. It wouldn't be too hard for this guy to pay for himself, as cheap as he is with just those support abilities. But you have to let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.